Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best anime-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show, coming to you from right here in Hollywood, California. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea, and I'm not alone today. See, we shoot a little show called The Weekly Hero on Wednesdays. We're shooting a little early today, so Robert Meyer Burnett was around. I said, why don't you come on in and do the show with me?
Well, and thank you for having me, John. It's great to be here. It's a dream of mine to do a morning talk show. And here I am.
I thought you said do a morning talk show with me.
Well, with you,
Is that your dream? No. You need better dreams.
You made my dream a reality.
And that is what I am, a dream maker, ladies and gentlemen. That is what I do. Now, listen, we got a hell of a lot of stuff to cover here today, so let's not waste any time. We're going to start off with a little bit of house cleaning here, and that is talking about the results of yesterday's question of the day. Now, you guys remember we were talking about the $2 billion club. There are only 4 movies in cinematic history to join the $2 billion club. I asked you guys, how many of the 2019 movies will join the $2 billion club? 41% of you said 2 movies next year will join the $2 billion club. Let's see, 30% of you said 1, 19% of you said 3 are going to join it next year, and 10% of you said 0. So those are the results of our question of the day yesterday. We have a new question of the day today, and we will get to that in just a moment. But before we do, let's go right off the top with some breaking stuff. As many of you know, there's that little film in theaters right now called Creed 2, which is actually really good. I still don't think as good as the first one, but a very, very good film. And right now it's coming out that Sylvester Stallone is talking that this may have been his last appearance as Rocky Balboa. He wrote things like this. He came out and said, I just want to thank everyone around the whole wide world for taking the Rocky family into their hearts for over 40 years. It's been my ultimate privilege to have been able to create and play this meaningful character. Sadly, all things must pass and end. Keep punching. I love you, kind and generous people, and Rocky loves you too. Robert, let me ask you this. If this Rocky 2 was the last time we're going to see Stallone as Rocky, and a lot of us thought 2006 was going to be the last time we saw him as Rocky, which was a great way to send him off. But if this was him sending it off, number one, is it the right time? And how do we remember Stallone's legacy as Rocky?
Well, you know, even as a kid, Rocky has been with us, like you said, for 40 years, literally almost my entire life.
Right.
And I've always seen the Rocky films, with possibly the exception of Rocky 5, as being inspirational tomes, you know, about you can work hard and you can achieve your dreams even if you lose. And I think that Creed, Ryan Coogler's Creed, is the greatest reinvention and shared universe sequel probably ever done. In terms of reinvigorating a franchise, it got Stallone an Oscar nomination. It was amazing. And I will bid Stallone a fond farewell. It's time. I think he's right. I think he's right about it.
You know, it's funny because you mentioned Rocky 5, and that was the one where everybody said, you took this one too far. You went too long with Rocky 5. And then they said they were going to do Rocky 6, which a lot of us thought, come on, guys, didn't you learn with Rocky 5? And Rocky 6 got back to the emotional heart of the character. And a lot of people, including this guy here, walked out of Rocky 6 going, oh my God, that was fantastic. I poo-pooed on the idea of Creed. I thought this sounds like a dumb idea. Then I saw the movie, loved it. He came back again. Look, and you know what? In hindsight, and hindsight is always the clearest vision.
Sure.
It was a good idea to bring him back. The Creed films really do feel like a wonderful bookend on the character. We had him in his heyday. We had him in his post-heyday with Rocky 5 and Rocky 6.
Yep.
And then we had him in where he's Mickey now. We have him now that he's the Mickey character. And if it is the end, what a historic run he had as this character. So if this is actually the end, that we're going to see Sylvester Stallone as Rocky Balboa, Rocky 2 is not the best of the appearances of Rocky, but definitely a worthy send-off for the character.
You know, I do think that Sylvester Stallone could bring back his Machine Gun Joe Viterbo character from Death Race 2000, from Roger Corman's Paul Bartel directed Death Race 2000.
Give that the Rocky 6 treatment.
I'm in.
All right, let's move on to another item off the top here. You know, Aquaman is coming out here. We've been talking a whole bunch about Aquaman lately. You know, early projections put Aquaman maybe pulling in 50 million. Now, these were months early projections. Projected Aquaman maybe making about 50. More recently, about the month and a half, 2 months out projections put it at about maybe $60 million. But now, The Wrap is claiming that they have reports saying that Aquaman could pull in as much as $100 million on its opening weekend, which would be very impressive for the film nonetheless. Now, it's no surprise that these numbers have been going up as more and more of these trailers have been coming out that have been making people really happy, and hot on the heels of the first reviews and reactions coming out, which have been overwhelmingly positive about this thing. Now, if Rocky, I still got Rocky on the brain, if Aquaman is indeed able to pull off a $100 million weekend, where does that position it in terms of the other DCEU films that have come out and their opening weekends? Well, this is how that chart kind of looks like. When you look at the opening weekends for the DCEU, number one is Batman vs. Superman. No big surprise, $166 million. Suicide Squad took in $133 million. Man of Steel made $116 million. Wonder Woman made $103 million. And of course, unfortunately, what should have by far been the biggest DCEU movie is the lowest one on there, making $93 million. So a Aquaman movie coming out and making $100 million, that really shouldn't surprise us too awful much. I mean, it would still make it as the second lowest opening for a DCU film. But on the other hand, coming out, let's go back almost a year. Coming out of Justice League, if you said, in a year, with all the divisiveness that Justice League brought, they're going to do a standalone Aquaman movie, it could make $100 million opening weekend, they would have taken that just like that. I mean, that would have shocked us. Do you think Aquaman could hit that $100 million mark?
Easily. I mean, here's the thing about Aquaman. Aquaman is what they call a 4-quadrant film in
much so, in
Hollywood. This is a film that adults are excited for, kids are excited for, moms and dads are excited for it. I mean, to hear the reports that Nicole Kidman apparently kicks ass in this movie.
She looked great in the trailers.
She looks great. And who doesn't want to see Aquaman? I mean, it looks so fun.
Yeah.
And I think what's really great is, Creed 2 opened really well, really strong. Hollywood's had one of its best years on record this year.
Yes, it has.
There has been a lot of fun at the multiplexes. I had more fun with Infinity War than I think I've had in years. I had fun with Solo. But I think Aquaman looks like just a blast. It looks like a blast. And I think it's going to probably do more than $100 million.
And so the question will become, can it actually even top Wonder Woman at that point? And now, obviously, Wonder Woman had great legs and it moved on to make over $800 million at the box office and all that kind of stuff, too. And we're not necessarily want to put that kind of pressure on Aquaman. But look, we've been saying for a long time, Warner Brothers has done something with Aquaman that they have never done before, which is show incredible concrete-like confidence in this film. From opening it up in international markets before they open it up here, to this Amazon Prime membership early screening. With every step they have taken with this movie, they have screamed confidence, which has told us they really believe they have a winner of a film here. Even with Wonder Woman, they weren't all that sure. They were not all that confident. Right. Going into 2 weeks before the movie, they had a very, very late embargo date, and it wasn't until some of the critics started seeing it and they heard from the critics, "Hey guys, at Sony, guys at Warner Bros., we actually like this movie," that then they moved the embargo date up. Even then they weren't sure. With Aquaman, they've been positive.
Yeah.
And they had James Wan in there, which is the biggest contributing factor to this. So I got to tell you, while a year ago, I would have said, no way is this Aquaman movie going to make $100 million opening weekend, even though all the other DCU movies have, other than Justice League. It's just not going to do it. But now, I'm not surprised at all. I will not be surprised in the least if this thing makes $100 million.
No, I mean, since I was a little kid, I have dreamed of watching guys on armored sharks fighting each other on seahorses.
Today's a big day about your dreams coming true.
You know what? The thing is, Hollywood has been making my dreams come true literally my whole life, and never more so than right now. I mean, come on. Who doesn't want Orm, Black Manta? He's got laser eyes blowing stuff up. I can't wait to see this movie, to be honest.
But I still stand on this. I still believe opening it up on the December 21st release date was a mistake.
Well,
I still believe if this thing makes $100 million opening weekend, I believe it could have made 130. If it makes 130, I believe it could have made 150. I still think it was a mistake to have it on this particular date.
Well, I'll tell you, as a grown man, I'm very conflicted because Mary Poppins Returns is opening as well.
And that's getting Oscar buzz.
I can't. First of all, if you don't love Mary Poppins, which is one of the great fantasy films ever made. Let's face it.
Yep.
There's something seriously wrong with you.
Fundamentally
and,
wrong with you.
I think that December 21st is going to be one supercalifragilistic day.
And it does open. Mary Poppins is a bit of an advantage. It opens a couple of days earlier. It's still the same week, but it opens on the Wednesday.
So I can see it 3 more times before I see Aquaman.
You can see it 3 or 4 times before Aquaman or Bumblebee. And by the way, Bumblebee's not looking bad either.
No, and I saw a clip. There was a clip online. Like I'm in. Plus, you've got the classic Transformers.
Then you got the G1 design in there too.
And that's what they're saying. They're all going, you look at the designers. We're back to the G1 designs. Like, I love the fact that the Transformers have parlance that people are talking about. Like, yes, that's Generation 1 for all you people out there.
All right, let's get on to another little thing off the top here. There's another movie that's opening up in what we call that death window between December 14th and December 21st. And it's another comic book related film. It's an animated one called Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Listen, I said right from the beginning, I thought this sounded like a dumb idea. I didn't, and I'll be honest with you, when the first trailer dropped, I didn't even like the first trailer that much. Whereas everybody else was loving the animation style, I wasn't. But then I saw that little movie called Venom, and I saw the post-credit scene with Spider-Man and the Spider-Verse, and I went, you know what? Damn, this looks like fun. And then they dropped the Spider-Ham trailer. And my wife, Ann, fell in love with it. And more, it started to win me over. Well, guess what? The reviews have now dropped. As of this morning, the review embargo for Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse has dropped, and they're not just good. There are some people, in a year that Avengers Infinity War came out and Black Panther came out, there are critics out there right now saying this is the best comic book movie of the year. Right now, take a look at this. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, as of this moment, holds a 100% rating on Rotten Tomatoes. Now, very, very, very few films hold 100% rating. Right. And I have no doubt that this will not hold 100%. But we are talking major IndieWire, Hollywood Reporter, Variety. All these major outlets are sending in their reviews for this thing right now. And it is cleaning house. People are raving about this film. They're saying it's incredibly imaginative. It's incredibly fun. It shows you what you can do when you step out of these stupid shared universes and tell some great Elseworld kind of stories. They're saying it's just
step into a shared universe.
Or step into its own little kind of shared multiverse kind of idea. And it shows you what you can do. And they are raving about it. Listen, I started to believe in this film with all the different marketing stuff, but even I wasn't expecting something this big. And people saying things like, best comic book movie of the year is an animated one. First of all, what have your expectations been for this Spider-Man and the Spider-Verse? And what do you think about these reactions and reviews we're hearing for it?
Well, I had a different feeling than you did. When I first saw the animation style, I was blown away. I felt about this film the same way I felt about Akira back in 1988 when I first saw it.
Right.
The use of light, the way they animated light in urban environments, Akira was sort of groundbreaking in that respect. And when I saw the animation style, I was kind of gaga for it. And I've never really understood why Hollywood, we've seen great DC universe animated films, but they're done, on TV budgets, essentially. I've never understood, why don't they do huge, big budget animated films? Why don't they do great animation films of science fiction classics? If this movie is successful, and it's going to be huge, let's face it, this could open up a whole new realm of comic book movies or science fiction films or fantasy films that we wouldn't get otherwise, because it's a lot easier to do these films in animation than it is to do them like Peter Jackson shooting all 3 Lord of the Rings movies, which is a huge risk. So I think, and the fact that Peter Porker, the spectacular Spider-Ham, is in this movie.
Voiced by John Delaney.
I mean, come on. I've always said we live in very interesting times.
We do.
Wondrous times. To be a geek this year especially, who would have thought we would get Infinity War, Black Panther, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, and Aquaman in 1 year? Come on.
It's nuts. Although, the one thing I do wonder, and again, we're talking about this death window, this December 14th to December 21st date. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse comes out. It opens against Mortal Engines. Okay,
which
fine.
also looks bonkers.
Which also is looking. I'm getting more and more on board with that movie, by the way, the more I see. But let's not. It's going to underperform. Not a lot of people are buzzing about it. It's probably going to underperform. Here's the thing: Spider-Man and the Spider-Verse can come out 4 days after it comes out. This little film called Mary Poppins drops.
Right.
2 days after Mary Poppins drops, you've got Bumblebee drops and Aquaman drops. I do wonder let's put the quality of the film aside for a second, because we're all agreeing it's looking great, and now the reviews are sounding spectacular.
Yeah.
No pun intended. They're sounding spectacular. But I do wonder what kind of financial success it can enjoy when it is running into that type of competition. And we haven't even talked about, Once Upon a Deadpool, and we haven't even talked about the more adult stuff, whether it's a Welcome to Marwen or the comedies like Sherlock Holmes and Watson or all these other films coming out. I do wonder how well it's going to be able to do. And like Aquaman, I also believe that if you had opened this movie any other time, it probably would have made more money. But hey, these types of reviews coming out spell nothing but good news for it, though.
And also, you've got the entire holiday, the 2 weeks of the holiday season.
Yeah.
Kids are going to be going with their parents, with their grandparents, to Mary Poppins, to Spider-Man, to Aquaman.
How many times is a parent going to take their kid to the theater in 1 week, though? I wonder.
I would take my kids every day this holiday season. And by the way, it's going to be
but
three
that would
movies
be for you. That would be for you, that you would be taking your kids.
Well,
you'd use your kids as an excuse.
It's true. By the way, it's going to be 3 movies that make $1 billion or $2 billion next year.
You think?
I do.
Well, I know you think it's going to be
Star Wars, Avengers 4, and Lion King.
You know what? I think if there's going to be 3, and I don't think there will be 3. I'm not even sure there's going to be 2. I think it'll be Lion King. I think it'll be Avengers 4, and I think it could be Toy Story 4.
Episode 9?
I don't think episode 9 is going to pull in $2 billion. No.
All right.
All right, guys. It's time for us now to move on to our main topics of the day. How do we pick out our main topics here on the John Campea Show? Well, it's pretty simple. You guys pick them out by emailing me your topics and questions anytime, 24/7, to john@thejohncampeashow.com. That's john@thejohncampeashow.com. Put the word topic in the subject line. And as always, guys, keep those emails to 90 words or less. So let's get on with the first question of the day. And the first question of the day comes to us from our good friend Kevin Ward, who writes, looking at the release calendar, there are no major studio releases until December 14th. That's 3 full weeks between major releases. Is that odd? It seems doubly odd that we have a murderer's row of movies releasing between December 14th and 21st, which we were just talking about. I just don't get how at least one of those movies wouldn't think to move up their release date to, say, November 30th and enjoy 2 full weeks without new release competition. What are your thoughts? All right, thanks a lot for the email, Kevin. And you know what, Robert, when you're looking at this kind of a desolation window right now, and you see this murderer's row we were talking about, why don't some of these movies take advantage of like a November 30th when they basically have, like Kevin was saying, a couple of weeks all to themselves?
Well, that's assuming they're finished.
Right.
That's assuming their international release patterns are locked down. I mean, there's a lot of different variables. I mean, it seems there's a lot of armchair quarterbacking that goes on with Hollywood.
Are you saying movie fans do that? Really? Do we do that?
My God. But I think, look, you think about a holiday window, you think people are still in school right now. You just had the Thanksgiving holiday. The Thanksgiving holiday movies, there's a lot of movies that came out for Thanksgiving, and they're going to play too. You don't want to double up upon double up, and when they decided to put these films out at the holiday season, these decisions were not made a couple months ago. They were made
ages
a while
ago. Yeah.
And so Christmas is another huge movie going time, and economically and spreadsheet wise, it doesn't matter how many movies are coming out at Christmas. It's still one of the best times of the year to release films, and that's why they're doing it. We just happen to be getting an embarrassment of riches, especially in the geek space. I don't remember anything like what we're about to see. I mean, we just talked about Mortal Engines. I mean, what The Hunger did in 1983 for goth culture, the Mortal Engines is going to do for those steampunk people that you always see hanging out at conventions. I mean, there is something for everyone this holiday season.
And you bring up something really interesting there too. First of all, like that is like the window when the most. I think that's the 1 week of the year that most people go to the movies.
Absolutely,
more people go that 1 week than other time. And I think you brought up something very, very poignant. You mentioned a lot of these kids are still in school during that week. And you know what? When you're looking at that window, Kevin Ward, it's not unique and it's not new. Take a look at this. If we look back at the last couple of years of the preceding couple of weeks leading up to that Christmas week, let's go back in 2016. On December 2nd, the week of December 2nd, we were talking about wide release films, wide release, how if you say wide release will qualify, say at least 2,000 screens.
Sure.
No wide release films came out on December 2nd, 2016. And the following week, December 9th, only Office Christmas Party came out, which is, of course, seasonal, but they didn't want to open it in that big major window.
Right.
So out of those 2 weeks, one wide release film. Let's look at 2017. December 1st, no wide release films from any of the major studios. And on December 8th, Just Getting Started, which was a barely wide release film with... I was going to say Tommy Lee Jones and I believe Morgan Freeman. I think he was in that with them too. A small film. They kind of dumped it in there. And now we move, of course, to this year. I accidentally said 2019, but really 2018, November 30th. No wide release films. December 7th. No wide release films. So you're not just imagining it, Kevin. There is that. But I think, Robert, I think you nailed it. I really think it has to do with we're leading into this Christmas season and those last couple of weeks, there are probably more distractions and things going on to keep people away from theaters, and I'm guessing that, and I'm just guessing, but I'm guessing that's why they don't drop those films in those windows.
But also, you still have those giant films that are released over the Thanksgiving holiday. And
That's
they want
true.
them.
Yep.
They want them
Yep.
to play out for weeks 2, 3, 4 before the Christmas season starts. We had a lot of big films that came out last week, including Creed 2 being one of them.
Yep.
You know, and
Wreck-It Ralph.
Wreck-It Ralph.
Robin Hood. Wah, wah.
Yeah, I know. But these are huge films, and they're still playing. They're still in theaters, and they want to get that box office dollar coming in before they dump another group of films that they also need to make a lot of money.
All right.
So.
What's next?
Well, Philip Fotopoulos, he says, Mission Impossible Fallout is my favorite movie of 2018 so far. It felt like they took everything great about the series and took it up a notch. I read recently that they're already planning Mission Impossible 7. My question is, how much more bonkers can they possibly get? Where do you take the story from here? How do you top MI6? Well, they could take a page from the James Bond franchise and go into space, the same way that James Bond did, because that
Mission
worked
Impossible
out so well.
Moonraker.
I'm in, and you know Tom Cruise is already calling NASA. He's like, so how do I get into your next? How do I get into orbit? I mean, it's a race between who goes to space first, Tom Cruise or James Cameron.
Or Fast and the Furious.
Oh, I forgot about that. My God, yes. And you know what? It doesn't matter. Whoever gets there first, we win.
Well, look, here's the thing, though. When you look at, and by the way, you're right. They are, Tom Cruise is already talking about that. The director of the last couple of Mission Impossible films, and who's worked with Tom Cruise on many films, Christopher McQuarrie, he was asked about like a possible Mission Impossible 7, and he said this. This is a little something he said. He said, I can tell you Tom already has a lot of really big ideas. World-topping shit. And that's Christopher McQuarrie talking about where they're at. So clearly we are going to have a Mission Impossible 7 coming. That's there. But how much more crazy can they get? You talk about going to space, but let's not forget that Tom Cruise almost already did that. With The Mummy, they did that one scene in the plane where they literally took their plane to the edge of the atmosphere and then did a dive to create real zero-G. They couldn't just CGI it. Tom Cruise wants realism. So they do that. So he's already hung himself off the side of a plane. He's already piloted a helicopter himself. They're talking now that in Top Gun 2, they wanted to delay it so Tom Cruise could figure out and learn how to fly a fighter jet himself so he can do some of the flying himself. How much further does Tom Cruise right now, it seems to me, he is in a window where he is now trying to define his legacy right now. Because look, and that's a pretty brilliant thing. There was a period of time where if Tom Cruise's career ended now, his legacy was defined by jumping up and down on Oprah's couch looking like a crazy man.
Right.
And then came along Tropic Thunder, which completely saved his career. And now he's kind of in this area where he is the Caucasian North American Jackie Chan, doing all these crazy stunts himself, going to the furthest degree, breaking his ribs, doing all that kind of stuff. At some point, though, there has to be a law of diminishing returns where we go, there's only so much you can do, Tom. And listen, you joke about going into space. You joke about going into space. But I'm telling you what, that's in Tom Cruise's mind somewhere. He's got to be thinking about it.
Oh, yeah. Either that or some villain has some kind of climate-destroying bomb on the top of Mount Everest. And he's going to go to the top of Mount Everest and like rappel down with some, those flying wings they had in Transformers 3 Dark of the Moon through the Chicago skyline. He's going to fly from the top of Mount Everest in one of those wingsuits to China, whatever. I don't know, but it's going to be awesome.
It's almost like he wants to do a sequel that Gerard Butler, what was that called? Geostorm. And Tom Cruise, Geostorm 2.
Or Lockout, that movie, the Escape from New York ripoff that Luc Besson produced when they were in orbit
in space with the dude from not Insomnia, from Memento. What's that actor's name from Memento? Guy Pearce. I loved that movie. I unabashedly loved that Lockout movie. I thought that was great.
I mean, why don't they do a Tom Cruise, Kurt Russell team up where they finally make the third Escape from New York movie, Escape from Earth?
Because Kurt Russell's is busy playing Santa Claus right now in Netflix movies.
Was awesome.
Did you watch it?
I loved it.
Really?
I loved it.
I didn't even bother watching, but it was good.
It's really good.
All right.
I mean, as far as Christmas movies go, it's when I say really good, it's a movie where Kurt Russell's playing Santa Claus, but in that realm, it's the best Kurt Russell playing Santa Claus movie I can possibly imagine.
All right, well, let me ask you this question, though. Getting serious
really
for a second. Tom Cruise has redefined himself as a true, legit action star.
Absolutely.
Obviously, doing a Mission Impossible 7 is a no-brainer. The audience is loving Mission Impossible. They seem to just be keeping a really high note. I didn't think Mission Impossible 6 was the best of the bunch, but I thought it was incredible. Tom Cruise is in his 50s. Well into his 50s.
Well into his 50s.
How much longer can Tom Cruise go? Hanging off of the side of airplanes, jumping across buildings, doing this insane, nutty stuff. Really, how much more does he have in the tank?
Well, you know that the old adage, like 40 is the new 30?
That's true.
I think with Tom Cruise, 70 is the new 55. He's still a very young-looking, virile guy. And I think he's just now coming into his looks. He's beginning to look like the badass that he's been for like the last 20 years, but he's getting a little bit more lines on his face.
He looks like a man now.
He looks like a man. I think he's got at least 15 good years.
Really?
I'm waiting for riskier business. When's he going to make riskier business? What happens when Joel Goodson's kids grow up and they go to college?
But, I mean,
I want to see that movie.
You look at an not Arnold Schwarzenegger, but a Sylvester Stallone who, think what you will about the Expendables movies. The fact of the matter is some of the stuff that he's still able to do and pull off in an action element at least 15 plus years of where Tom Cruise is now. Who knows? All right, we got to move on now to the next topic. And the next email today comes to us from Edward Nyland, who writes, the unofficial kickoff to the award season tends to be the National Board of Review Awards, and I just saw that Green Book took the top honors. I know you still think A Quiet Place is the best film of the year, but do you think this indicates that Green Book could be a frontrunner heading into Oscar season? All right, thanks a lot for the email, Edward. And yes, the National Board of Review is kind of right around that, and the Gotham Awards tend to kind of kick off the award season. National Board of Review put out their awards. Let's take a look at some of the major categories here that they gave out. Okay, so first of all, yes, Green Book did take their best film of the year. Best director was Bradley Cooper for A Star Is Born. I thought he did a great job. I also thought he made some first-time director mistakes. I don't know if I would have given him that, but I had no problem with him being nominated, of course. Best actor was a surprise to me. Viggo Mortensen for Green Book took that. Best actress, Lady Gaga. Not a big surprise there. Best supporting actor, I love this one, Sam Elliott for A Star Is Born. I thought he was tremendous in that. Best supporting actress, I have not seen If Beale Street Could Talk, but I have been a Regina King fan forever. I love her. Best original screenplay went to First Reformed, which was amazing that nobody saw. Best adapted screenplay went to If Beale Street Could Talk, and no big surprise here, best animated film went to Incredibles 2. I'll say this, I am a little surprised by the Green Book win because first of all, I was a little bit late to it, but I finally got around to seeing Green Book. It is remarkable. It's a wonderful, wonderful film. Mahershala Ali, Viggo Mortensen carry that film. Their dynamic and their chemistry on screen together was absolutely fantastic. It wasn't... If you had seen my show where I did my reaction to the trailer, I just lost my mind. Like, I thought, this looks like it could be one of the top 3 greatest films in the last 20 years, right? Is Green Book that? No. But it's spectacular. It's wonderful. I would definitely, if I was a part of the Academy, I would nominate it for Best Picture at the Academy Awards for sure. But I don't think it would be getting any of my first place votes. So I was a little surprised. Also a little surprised to see the Viggo Mortensen win. Although you'll hear no complaints from me because he's brilliant in it. The only one I have any issue, I don't have no issue with Lady Gaga winning. I have no issue with Sam Elliott, obviously. I do take a little bit of an issue with the Bradley Cooper win, though, because like I said, while I think he did a magnificent job, for sure, and I've talked about this ad nauseum on my show before, I think there were a couple of very clearly made first-time director mistakes made that I think John Krasinski made no such mistakes in A Quiet Place. That a couple of these other films as well, Hereditary, made no such mistake. First Reformed made no such. I think there were a few other directors that would have had above him. I would have no issue if Bradley Cooper gets a nomination at the Academy Awards for Best Director, but I would have issue if he won. And so I do question that one. Anything stand out to you in this particular list?
Well, I would agree with you. I mean, I haven't seen Roma yet. But Alfonso Cuarón is one of the greatest directors working today, and we haven't really seen him mentioned much yet because not a lot of people have seen Roma yet. I think there's a lot of movies we have yet to see. These awards, they always kind of come out first.
Yes.
The National Board of Review Awards, and it's almost like they're up to the movies they saw up to that point. It's like
I think
the end
they've
of the year
seen
movies.
all these. Yeah, I mean, like the thing is with these awards bodies, these studios do send them the films to make sure they see them for their awards consideration.
It's true, but it just seems to me like it's a little front loaded with The Star Is Born. Not that that's a bad thing because it was a fine film, but yes, I agree with you. As much as I liked The Star Is Born, I didn't think it was formulaic, but it was well done. But does he deserve Best Director? I don't know. I think it's kind of cool that Rocket Raccoon just got a National Board of Review award for directing. I mean, that's another thing. We live in great, wonderful times. I mean, it's incredible that Bradley Cooper. By the way, Bradley Cooper is an incredibly smart guy.
Yes, he is
in real life. I love watching Bradley Cooper go to France and do like press junkets because he speaks fluent French, and my girlfriend is also half French, so I'm always asking her, "Does this person speak good French?" And she's like, Bradley Cooper speaks perfect French. So I just love the fact that Bradley Cooper's getting awards at all. I think it's great. And the fact that he got this movie made, good for him.
I say this all the time, I've been a massive Bradley, for all you bandwagon jumpers, I've been a massive Bradley Cooper fan since he was in Alias with Jennifer Garner. I was always wanting her to end up with him instead of Michael Vartan. That's how far back I go with Bradley Cooper. All right. What's our next email topic today?
Well, the next email topic comes from Matthew, who asks, with The Lion King just around the corner, does this type of CGI animation spell the end of the type of animated film like Toy Story, Shrek, and like that type spelled the end of classic hand-drawn 2D animation? Well, did it signal the end of classic hand-drawn 2D animation? I don't think so. I think, look, it's just another form of animation. We live, again, in a time where you've got Kubo and the Two Strings. Leica brought back stop motion. Henry Selick with Nightmare Before Christmas and James and the Giant Peach and The Corpse Bride. I mean, there's all kinds of animation now, more so than probably ever. Into the Spider-Verse, even though it's computer generated, there's a lot of hand-drawn stuff in it. I think animation of all kinds is back with a vengeance. Toy Story 4 is coming out. It's not going to replace hand-drawn animation. It's not going to replace stop motion. It's just another form of animation.
I remember back in the day when like Toy Story 2 was coming out and things like that, and the discussion came up. Are these CGI animated films going to spell the end of traditional hand-drawn animation on the big screen? And a lot of people, including me, were saying things like you're just saying. No, it won't. There is room for both. We're going to now head into this new era where we're going to have hand-drawn traditional 2D animations side by side with this new CG. And guess what? We were wrong. When's the last time? Name the last 5 hand-drawn traditional 2D animated films to hit theaters. You can't. Because it really did, when it comes to the big screen, it really did spell the end of it. I mean, it took a little while, but when's the last time we saw those films on the big screen? It's been a while. Now, we see...
Let It Go, Frozen.
That was CG animated. That was 3D CGI animated.
Okay, but here's the thing. You're right. But these movies all movies now use computers in some way.
Right.
Live action movies, animated films. It's just a tool. And the thing is, the reason why CG has replaced hand-drawn animation is the same reason that CG has replaced models when they're making science fiction movies. I mean, there's still, yes, Moon uses models. The Phantom Menace had more models built for it than any science fiction movie in history, but they're just another tool. It's just part of the toolkit.
Right.
And it's easier and more effective to use CG to make animation now than it is to do hand-drawn stuff, even though there's still hand-drawn animation but every movie now uses CG in some way, shape, or form. Every movie.
See, while I disagree with your rationale, I agree with you at the bottom line, though. See, I don't think this. We've been having this debate on the show lately about, I've been saying it's time for all of us to stop calling this new Lion King movie the Lion King live action, because there's nothing live action about it. This is an animated film. But the reason I don't think this style that Jungle Book sort of softly introduced us to, and now Lion King is going right through for the throat with, why I don't think this is going to replace the other stuff like you see in the graphic there, Moana or Woody and stuff like that, is because we still love the look of animation.
Right,
we still love the look of something not being real. We like those kind of stories. They appeal to us. It makes us expand our imaginations a little bit. Could, from a technical level, we get to a place where this type of photorealism, like in Lion King, that all the studios could easily do all their films like that? Yes, we're going to get to that place technologically that it becomes easier to do that. But is that what the audience wants? And I'm going to suggest no. I think the audience still loves, whether it's the look of traditional 2D animation or the Toy Story style of animation, we still like that look of animation. And therefore, since it's what the audience wants, I don't think it's going to be going away anytime soon.
No, because, I was not using good examples. I mean, people are still watching The Simpsons.
It's
People
true.
are still watching South Park.
Small screen.
But South Park, they brought South Park to the big screen. South Park basically used photo cutout animation, but with a CG assist, and those kinds of things. I mean, heck, they did Team America, which was using puppets, not quite animation, but I think that the fact is it depends what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
Like the Toy Story movies were done in their specific style. And I think it's really the style. Does the style of the animation match the story that's being told? That's what's really important. I mean, the Transformers movies are live action, but all the Transformers are CG.
Yeah. Well, there's that mixing of live action like Lion King or Jungle Book was. Then you got straight up animation like this. We are getting into not just you often refer to this as we're in a golden age. We're also heading into a very transformative age, where we are redefining genres now. We're redefining mediums. There are new possibilities that filmmakers never had before. Where we're going to land? We'll find out pretty soon. All right, let's move on now to the final email of the day. And the final email today comes to us from Alex, who writes, I stumbled upon this interesting article from Variety about the Game Awards. It's basically about how it is the only award show with a growing audience. Well, that's because it's relatively new, but because it's not only about presenting awards, but also about showing exclusive trailers and video game reveals. Since the Oscars are struggling with a declining viewership, do you think they could copy this idea and show new trailers or even announce new movies at the show to attract more viewers? Well, first of all, here's the thing. Has there been years that the audience of the Academy Awards has declined? Yes, but make no mistake about it. Generally speaking, other than the Super Bowl, there's no other bigger single watched event, normal annual watched event than the Oscars, still to this day. But I'm going to tell you what, I think you just mentioned the best idea I have ever heard for increasing the viewership and interest in the Academy Awards. Robert, I've heard a lot of bad ideas over the years, including this fucking ridiculous best popular movie category.
Don't mince
Shove
words,
it up
Sean.
your
What
ass.
do you really
That's
think?
such an idiotic thing. Anyway, I've heard a lot of bad ideas, but here's the thing. To me, the special thing about the Oscars that I have always loved so much, it is and by the way, other than Christmas, which is very important to me, other than Christmas, the Oscars is my favorite day of the year. It is the one day of the year to celebrate the movies and celebrate. We celebrate the movies every day, but really designate a one day to celebrate the movies. The idea of using that platform and coordinate. Like, who makes up the Academy? All the studios. Coordinate with all the studios. Guys, let's do what people traditionally look at Comic-Con to do. Let's make the big announcements. Let's drop those first looks at something coming out this year. Let's make it an event to celebrate the year that was and to celebrate the year to come. You mix in both, you do a couple things. Number one, you maintain the integrity of the awards themselves, and you don't start doing all these bullshit best popular film nonsense. So you maintain the integrity of that, but also you give us something to look forward to every year. I'm telling you what, I feel idiotic, which I do every day, but I feel idiotic right now that I never thought of this. This is the single best idea I have ever heard. You coordinate with the studios, you make this happen, you make it something that everybody wants to tune in and watch. People tune in who don't watch football, tune in to watch those Monday Night Football games just to watch new trailers. You make this the event to do that, you blow it off the hinges. Am I getting too excited about this, Robert? Can you think of some downsides to this idea? Because I'm thinking this is a great idea.
Well, this is a fantastic idea. There is absolutely no downside to this idea at all. I mean, look, how many people tune in? You're looking at, there's how many 200 million views of that Lion King trailer?
230. It was the second largest, despite it being on a holiday weekend when a lot of people aren't on the computers, second most viewed trailer in history.
I mean, you could make the Academy Awards a 6-hour broadcast, and you could spend time profiling, do profiles of, instead of having the Barbara Walters special that used to follow the Academy Awards, why don't they spend 4 hours profiling all the actors and all the directors and all the tech people and all of everybody that makes movies special, and make it a day, like you said, of celebrating films? I mean, what do we do as movie pundits? We spend each and every day talking about movies, waiting to see these trailers. What you just said, turn it into a event programming where you drop these trailers. You make it like Comic-Con. I think that's, like you said, it's a fantastic idea. And turn Academy Awards not just into a broadcast, turn the Academy Awards into a day of celebrating the art of film. All film, all the highfalutin, highbrow Oscar movies that you might not have seen. I mean, one of the things that the geek pundit space does not cover is indie cinema. We're only talking about Thanos or Aquaman, but there's so many beautiful, wonderful movies, not just from Hollywood, but from all over the world that we don't ever talk about, we don't ever see. And we could turn the Academy Awards into a global celebration, because it's watched, they always say, watched by over 1 billion people.
Around the world.
Let's turn it into a global celebration of cinema, where we're not only talking about what's going to win awards, but we're talking about the movies from all over the world. Make it a day of a cinema smorgasbord.
See, here's the other thing,
celebrate
too.
Indie cinema, international cinema everywhere.
Do you ever get a chance to go to CinemaCon in Vegas? Have you ever been?
I've been to Show West. I've never been to CinemaCon since they turned it into.
CinemaCon is great, but you could also incorporate something they do at CinemaCon every year that makes CinemaCon so great, which is every studio. Now, granted, they do it 90 minutes. You'd have to make it like 10 minutes instead of 90. But every studio at CinemaCon every year, they have the presidents of the studio come out, and they introduce like a 90-minute preview of all the big films, and they'll show you like 15 minutes of each of the big films come out that year. You do something like that at the Oscars as well, where you give each studio like after you present Best Supporting Actor, now Paramount coming to the stage, President of Paramount, and they introduce a 10-minute montage clip introducing all the films. You do that, you can increase it from 3 hours. We're always talking about how to make the Oscars shorter, and for good reason. But you can increase it to like 4 hours, and you incorporate. And you take out all these other big montage nonsense things you just, other than In Memoriam, you always keep In Memoriam. But you take out all the other useless montages and do that, the first trailers in between the commercials, all that kind of stuff. People watch the Super Bowl who do not even like sports just so they can see what trailers get played during the commercial breaks. You bring that to the Academy Awards too. It just seems to me like a no-brainer. I don't know why anybody hasn't talked about this or thought about this before.
Because it requires out-of-the-box thinking. You know, like so much of the entertainment business, you're dealing with people that there's too much risk involved, and there's not enough out-of-the-box thinking. But we live in a transformative time. The reason that a video game award show is getting so big is because entertainment's now fractured. There's all kinds. Kids are growing up watching YouTube rather than movies. I mean, there's so much different entertainment options.
I know a lot
now.
of 40 and 50-year-olds that watch YouTube instead of movies.
I mean,
like
our viewership is skews older. But why not? I mean, we live in an era where nobody gets rich doing what someone else has been doing for years and years and years. People get rich, really rich, when they do something new. You know, something, like you said, transformative. We're living in a world where that's all we're doing, is we're watching the world being transformed. And, you know, our country right now, we have this fracture between people that want to keep doing things the old way and people that want to do things in a new way. And the new innovators are always the people that are going to win in the end.
Yeah, and but it's always the scariest thing too.
It's terrible.
So it's all that as well. All right, guys, listen. Before we get into the live questions today, I'm going to bring us back to one of the topics we were talking about previously, because we're going to talk about the question of the day. And our question of the day today goes back to that Lion King topic. The question is simply this: do you think that these photorealistic animations that we're getting now could spell the end of the traditional CGI animation that we've been enjoying for the past 15, 20 years? Here's how you answer. Just go to my Twitter account. You can see my Twitter handle right there, simply at John Campea. Make sure you're following me on Twitter too, by the way. Go over there, and the very top tweet right now is that question, that do you think this could spell the end? I'm going to go over there right now. Right now, over 1,200 of you guys have responded already. 73% of you right now are saying no, it's not. 27% of you, though, are a little bit more pessimistic and saying, yeah, this is going to spell the end for that kind of stuff. We'll revisit this and give you the final results of the question of the day on tomorrow's John Campea Show. Okay, guys, with all that stuff out of the way, we're going to save some time now and go and take some live questions. We're going to go through these pretty quickly because a lot of you guys have been sending them in. And we're going to start things off with, Chandrasekhara. Hopefully I didn't butcher it too much, has a long issue here. Do check out 2.0, an Indian sci-fi movie that made on a cost of $79 million, which is less or more than Deadpool, which was made for, which releases tomorrow. Technical and stunt persons continue who have worked in films like The Dark Knight and Infinity War, Hobbit, etc., have worked in the film. It's a 3D movie, has 4D sound, continue, and is the pride of India. It's getting a huge all-time high opening in India and in Southeast Asia. Countries like Malaysia, Singapore, etc. do support. Well, I'll tell you what. If I have a chance to see, because there's a lot of stuff I don't even get a chance to see. There's a lot of television I don't even get to keep up with. If this is playing around me somewhere, I'm having a few people actually from India, and we get, surprisingly enough, we get a lot of viewers, a lot of the Indian film fans write to us and watch from India, which is amazing. If this opens up anywhere around me, I'll give it a shot and I'll see if I can check that out. All right, Curtis Lopez writes, hey, John, I know you don't care too much about SpongeBob, but I just want to pay respects to the creator, Steven Hillenburg, who passed away yesterday. That show is a big part of my childhood. And you know what? SpongeBob was never something that I watched. It was never anything that I cared about. I didn't even bother seeing the movies. But to deny the cultural impact of SpongeBob SquarePants would be idiotic. And I did read about that yesterday, about the guy passing away. Have you ever watched any of the SpongeBob stuff?
I have. I didn't watch it religiously the way I watched, say, Star Blazers, because I was, SpongeBob came out at a specific time in my life when I was much, much older. But it is a delightful, and talk about a bonkers, weird, surreal show. It is a wonderful show. And it's sad that creator has left us way too early. He was young. He's like, what, 53?
52, 53. Yeah, way too young. Donaldo Martinez writes, after recently watching 3:10 to Yuma, so good. Decided to watch Hell or High Water. So good. Water for the first time. Ben Foster is great in both movies. I'm telling you what, I have said for years, Ben Foster is the single most underrated actor in the business today. This dude was in 3:10 to Yuma with arguably two of the greatest actors of our generation in Russell Crowe and Christian Bale, and he upstaged both of them to me. To me, he was the best actor in that movie. He is incredible. He was even great in that mechanic movie he did with Jason Statham. He, of course, a lot of people remember him as the young angel in that one X-Men film, but what your thoughts on Ben Foster?
He's fantastic. I mean, Hell and High Water I love that film. It's so good. But every time, I was prejudicial against his performance or appearance in any movie because of X-Men 3 or X-Men The Last Stand. But what a great actor. And I'll watch anything that he's in.
By the way, also check him out in 30 Days of Night.
Yeah.
He doesn't have a huge role in it, but oh my God, he sets the tone for that movie.
Fantastic
so good.
Actor.
All right, Cara Black writes, Donaldo had another question there. He wrote, will you be buying digital 4K movies now that you have a 4K TV? So I said I was not going to buy a 4K TV for another couple of years, but then we were out Black Friday shopping, so I was picking up a PlayStation 4, and I saw this 50-inch 4K HDR, I keep wanting to say high dynamic range, HDR 50-inch with Roku built right into it for $250. And I'm like, well, I'm going to get that. So we picked up and we put it in our bedroom. Right now, my main TV in my living room is still my 60-inch, that I have in there, and I love that TV. It's not 4K, but it's beautiful and gorgeous. I'm not going to upgrade that anytime soon. So I'm probably not going to start buying 4K movies until I change out that TV in my living room. And that's not going to be for at least another year or two. But like Ray was pointing out to us, like, we've had that, Ann and I have had that TV for almost 6 years now.
4K.
It might be time pretty soon for me to upgrade.
It rules. I'm buying 4K discs. If you want to do a really interesting comparison to see what 4K can actually bring you, watch the new Matrix 4K discs, especially the first Matrix, and compare it to the Blu-ray release. I mean, there is a sharp difference. I mean, the Matrix finally looks like filmic the way it should. The 2001 disc, I got mine when I was supposed to last month, in 4K is amazing. 4K transfers are, when they're done well, The Last Jedi is spectacular in 4K.
Well, I have not seen that yet. I'm going to, like I said, I'm going to have to wait till I get that. Kara Black writes, with Oliver out of prison now. Oh, thanks for spoiling that for me, Kara. With Oliver out of prison now, what are your thoughts on the mystery Green Arrow? Well, I am always 1 or 2 episodes behind on these shows, so I didn't know Oliver got out of prison now, but now I do.
I'm behind
so
too.
I know you didn't intend. I know, Kara, you did not intend to spoil it for me, but be careful, folks. You just spoiled it for me. Thank you. I will say this. Green Arrow this season is the best Green Arrow they've had in a couple of years. I'm actually enjoying this season of Green Arrow, and I haven't enjoyed Green Arrow since season 1 and season 2 and the first half of season 3. To me, it really went down the toilet after that, despite the fact that they have a great lead performer in Stephen Amell. But I have been enjoying this season, so I'll say that. Ike Moore writes, Hugh's announcement could be that he's hosting the Oscars. For those of you who know, Hugh Jackman and on the Today Show, they said, huge announcement coming on Thursday. A lot of people speculate. What network is the Today Show on? Is that an ABC show?
NBC, I think.
Is it an NBC show? Okay. The Oscars are on ABC. I don't know that they would be announcing him hosting the Oscars on an NBC show. I think they probably would have put him on an ABC show. And look, I don't watch any of these morning shows, so I just don't know. It's going to be interesting to see what it is. I don't think it's a Wolverine thing, but it'll probably be something. Do you have any guess as to what this Hugh Jackman announcement is going to be?
No, I don't know. I mean, I want to say that Hugh Jackman is going to announce tomorrow Marvel Phase 4 is going to begin with him playing Logan again. That's not true, by the way. Don't report that. It isn't true. But I would like it to be. I have no idea. I have to tell you, dude, I was late to the Greatest Showman bandwagon, but I bought that 4K disc, and I love The Greatest Showman, and I hope he's announcing The Greatest Showman 2.
I love The Greatest Showman. Ann and I watched it a couple times here, and then we went out to Boston last year. We spent a couple of days in Boston, and just one of her friends there was like, oh, she hasn't seen Greatest Showman, and we just used that as an excuse to go, while in Boston, to go watch it again. I mean, I just loved it that much. Let's see here. HV39000 writes, yesterday I said on your show that calling The Lion King an animated movie doesn't give it any justice. I didn't mean that animated movies are inferior in any way, or that they don't look great either. Well, then I'm not quite sure what it is you're saying. If you're saying that calling The Lion King an animated film doesn't do it justice, then what are you saying? Because to me, that seems to suggest you're saying that animated films aren't as good as live action films, and it's all just the medium. Look, again, I get it. If some of you want to call Lion King a live action film, that's fine. Like I said, I can have Hugh Jackman in here and I can just call him Heather. I can call him whatever I want. It doesn't change the fact that his name is not Heather. His name is Hugh. But I can call him Heather all I want. You can call Lion King a live action film all you want, but it does not change the fact that it is not a live action film. It is an animated film. And while that's revolutionary, the movie itself looks revolutionarily different, it doesn't change the fact that it is indeed an animated film. And we can call it whatever we want, but the bottom line is it is an I don't know. I've never asked you about that, but how do you define it?
Well, it is an animated film. I think when it comes to Lion King, what's really most important is that the original writers of the original animated film are not going to get paid for this movie, even though it's clearly based on the movie they wrote, because they were not guild writers. They were not covered by the unions, which I think is a big problem. But that has nothing to do with animation. I think, look, this is an animated film. It requires animators to do their job. Yeah. They did not go get the Ringling, when Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey Circus shut down, they did not go take all those animals, right, take them over to Africa and shoot them.
Right.
You know, I don't think they used any real animals except for photo reference. Or maybe they did. I don't know.
But they used real lions for photo reference in the original Lion King. I remember seeing those pictures of the Disney animators. They brought in real lions so they could sketch them. And I mean, so that's no different here. But
elephants, they used elephant movement to figure out how the AT-ATs walked in The Empire Strikes Back.
Yep.
But they were still animated, stop motion, but they were animated.
Kara Black writes, what are your thoughts about the character of Kate Kane / Batwoman before the crossover was announced? I didn't read a lot of Batwoman, to be honest. I mean, obviously, I know a lot about the character. I mean, from a society point of view, she's a revolutionary character, does some things that we don't see a lot in these lead characters and things before. Very interested in seeing what they're going to do on the big screen. And I'm very interested in seeing that they're used her as an excuse to drop the name Batman, which we'd never seen or heard in a CW show before. But honestly, I'm not going to be facetious. I mean, I haven't read a lot of Batwoman other than knowing just a lot of facts about her.
She's a great character. She was a great character when she was introduced. And for the most part, she's been really well written. And she's not a token character. They did not use her preferences. They have not been at the forefront of her storylines usually. She's just a wonderfully drawn character. And I cannot wait to see Ruby Rose play her on screen.
I'm very curious because I thought she was the best actor in Meg. I know that's not saying a lot. But it's I think she was the best performance in Meg. All right, gonna fly through a bunch of these. We're never gonna get through them all today. But let's see. Amin writes, what are you seeing first, Green Book or Front Runner? Well, I already saw Green Book, but Front Runner, directed by Jason Reitman, with Hugh Jackman, based on the whole Gary Hart incident. That's got me fascinated. I cannot wait to see that. Jeff Mullins writes, after Venom, do you feel word of mouth is king over critic reviews? Word of mouth has always been king over critic reviews. That's never been a thing. The thing is, though, critic reviews come first. And really, they go hand in hand. Word of mouth and critic reviews go hand in hand. But the fact of the matter is, again, if the critic reviews had come out and been spectacular, we're not talking about Venom being an $800 million movie now. We're talking about Venom being a $1 billion movie. So they are opposite sides of each coin. But at the end of the day, word of mouth has always been more important. But it's the critic ones that come first, so they're both important. Let's see here. HV39000 writes, I meant that the animals and landscapes look so realistic that it looks more like live action than animated movie to me. It's live action like. Oh, of that there's no doubt.
Right.
Of that there's no doubt. It's absolutely crazy how real it looks and how great it looks. But that just adds to how crazy that it is animated. It still doesn't make it live action no matter what it looks like. But you're absolutely right about that. James Bonner writes, welcome to the show, Robert. And welcome to the show, Robert.
Well, James, thank you. I hope I've acquitted myself admirably. This is my first time on a morning talk show. Thank you very much.
You're the first person in the history of the John Campea Show to use the word acquitted yourself. George Costanza writes, better foil for the protagonist, Toby or Newman? Oh, Newman. Always Newman. Newman. I mean, it's always got to be Newman. Odai writes, Captain Abu Rayad is free on YouTube under preview. Another Indian film that somebody was telling me about that I need to check out, and that one's been mentioned to me a couple of times as well. Thanks for and by the way, now all you guys know you can check it out on YouTube as well.
Have you seen the Indian movie Robot?
I have not,
it's
but
crazy fun.
I literally had somebody yesterday telling me about
you got to
that.
watch this. Yeah.
All right. You'll have to show me where I can find that. Justin D writes, would love to see Star Wars horror anthology on Disney Plus. I don't know if that's something Star Wars would ever go in that direction, even on Disney Plus.
I don't know. Death Troopers. Did you read that novel? Star Wars Zombies. I'm in. Come on.
Caden Stab writes, hey, John, I'm sure you had fun at Universal Hollywood. I did. My woman and I are going to Universal Orlando for the third time in May. Love your show. Take care. Yeah, Ann and I put up a video on the YouTube channel the other day about Ann and I going to the winter at the Christmas time at the Wizarding World of Harry Potter. It was magnificent. They had snow falling, and which in Southern California you just don't see. And their presentation at Hogwarts was breathtaking. If you get a chance, I'm sure they're doing the same thing in Orlando. Do check it out. Angry Irish Benjamin writes, you killed my father. I did, and not a day goes by that it does not haunt me. But if I had to do it again, I would. I can't remember what that quote's from.
Well, I did just get the Blu-ray of Princess Bride.
But that's you killed my father, prepare to die.
Right.
I mean,
that's the first thing that I thought about.
The Six Finger Man does not say, there's not a day that goes by that it doesn't haunt me. And I can see it in my head, but I cannot remember it. Guys in the chat board, jump down and answer. Where's that quote from? Daniel Fitzpatrick writes, really hope Aquaman does well. Well, listen, I said before, I will say it again, much like Venom, this is a film that doesn't need to make $600 million to be considered a success. Aquaman comes in at 400 plus. The guys at DC are popping champagne, and they're going, we did it. Coming off of Justice League, which is very divisive, you come out with 400 million, and it looks like it's going to eclipse that. So we'll have to wait and see. Let's see. Stubble McShave writes, if Spider-Verse is really good, do you think it has a chance to be Oscar nominated in the animated category? Well, don't see why not. I mean, it's an animated film. And really, this hasn't been the best year for animated film.
Right.
I mean, well, like Incredibles 2.
I liked Incredibles 2.
I loved Incredibles 2, but there haven't been a lot of big high profile. Wreck-It Ralph 2 is also very good. But, I mean, you got 5 spots there. I don't see why not. I don't see why it couldn't be. Michael Jones writes, Marvelous Mrs. Maisel Season 2 December 5th reviews are great so far. Guys, I've been telling you guys for a year now, The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel is the show to watch on TV right now. If you haven't watched it, have you watched this show?
It is wonderful. It is, I caught up with this show last month, and I breezed through the episodes in 2 days. It is a wonderful show. It's beautifully produced. The acting is spectacular. It's funny. It's
funny
heartwarming.
As hell.
The cast is unbelievable. I love this show. Love it, love it, love it. I can't wait. The problem is, I hope I'm going to watch it in like a day, and then it's going to be over.
I mean, that's how I watch it. Ann and I were on vacation visiting my family at Christmas time, and so we were bunkered in one night. It's just in our room. We had a TV in our room there, and she goes, John, we have to watch this. It is so funny. And a lot of people never even heard of the show until the Emmys came around, and it was winning all the Emmys. And everybody's like, what's this show? It's so good. It's so good. Make sure you check it out. Angry Irish Benjamin writes, I am a god, you dull creature, and I will not be bullied by bam, 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 puny god. Still, I remember the first time I saw Avengers, the first screening I was at for Avengers, by far that was the biggest reaction, was that moment when he grabs Loki and starts whipping him all over the place.
Dude, I couldn't stop laughing. Because that movie was very realistic, as far as an Avengers movie goes, but that was a moment where it just broke into hilarity.
Yeah.
I mean, it was, and I'm laughing about it right now.
It's so good. Let's see here. Razor's Edge Frisbee writes, I totally agree that Darkseid wouldn't automatically make Justice League a better movie, and that pick Snyder was really cool. But as a gigantic fan of the character, my first reaction was, damn it, I love your show, man. Thank you so much, Razor's Edge. And yeah, so the topic came up the other day because, Zack Snyder, who is seeming more and more sour about what happened between him and Warner Brothers, has again continued to leak out stuff.
He's just trolling.
Let's call it what it is. Zack Snyder, who I'm a fan of, because I will always be grateful to him for Man of Steel, but he's basically trolling Warner Brothers at this point. But he leaked out a picture of the image of Darkseid at any rate, and a lot of people say, oh, they should have had that in. And my whole point was, guess what? Dr. Doom was one of the most beloved comic book villains ever. Just putting him in a movie didn't make those Fantastic Four movies any better.
No.
So just having that exact same movie and just dropping in Darkseid wouldn't have made the movie any better, because they probably just would have made more people mad that they didn't handle Darkseid right, much the way they didn't handle Doomsday right, and would have just upset people. But I don't know. Your thoughts on that?
No. Again, you have to have that. The movie was what we saw. It needed a lot of help. I mean, I love Darkseid, and the way he's handled in the Justice League animated series, fantastic. But if he wasn't handled well in the movie, just having him be in it wouldn't have made it better. It
actually might have made it worse, because there's some people who love Darkseid so much that you don't handle him right, it could have soured some people even more.
Absolutely.
So we'll never know. Nathan Oswald writes, keep one, lose one, Tootsie or Mrs. Doubtfire? I love Mrs. Doubtfire. But Tootsie, I believe, was nominated for Best Picture of the Year.
Yes, it was.
Dustin Hoffman was nominated for Best Actor of the Year. I believe Terry Garr was nominated for Best Supporting Actress of the Year. It is all time. You know what? I got to go to the ArcLight Cinema Dome, I think 2 years ago, and watch a screening of Tootsie with Dustin Hoffman there. If you haven't seen Tootsie, and I was a kid when it came out, so I'm sure a lot of you haven't. Tootsie is so good.
Tootsie's one of my favorite movies of all time. It has one of the greatest screenplays ever written, one of the best screenplays of the 80s. The performances are great. The supporting characters are great. It's a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful film. And if you haven't seen it, get the Criterion Blu-ray.
Angry Irish Benjamin writes, in the UK DVD release of The Avengers, a.k.a. Avengers Assemble, that's right, it was called Avengers Assemble in the UK, they digitally removed the blade that goes through Coulson's chest. Weird, huh? No wonder Once Upon a Deadpool is still rated 15 in the UK. And that's something Robert and I are going to be talking about on the Weekly Hero a little bit later today. But yeah, it is kind of interesting. I suggested the other day that I believe that the name of the new movie could be, not that I was putting money on it, but that could be Avengers Assemble. Some people were quick to say, John, you can't name it that, because they named it something different. They named it that in the UK for the first Avengers movie. So what? It was named something, so that then you name it something different in the UK again. I mean, it's
You
probably
can call it that. Avengers Assemble Again.
Avengers Assemble Again. Brilliant. Why are you not working for Disney right now? But I still think it's something that they could do, although I'm not putting money on it. It's probably going to be something else. But yeah. Razor's Edge Frisbee writes, meant to say that pick Snyder released. Also, I'm a huge comic fan, but I never understood why people use purist arguments to criticize a comic book movie. It's just judge the movie on its own merits. Well, that's the thing, Razor's Edge. And look, it's a human tendency. We all do it. But, we often talk about, one of the things I often have to come back to is people say, this thing sucked in this movie because in the comic book they do this. And I keep having to tell people, yeah, but that's the comic book. This isn't the comic book. This is the movie. And the movies and the comic books are two different things. The movies are based on the comic books, but they're not meant to have complete connective cartilage between every little plot detail. Look, I say this all the time. One of the best comic book movies ever made, X-Men Days of Future Past. Very, very different from the comic book story. Captain America Civil War. Very, very different from the comic book. And I think you raise a great point, Razor's Edge. They are two very different things.
Absolutely. It drives me actually crazy when people are like, I'm the biggest comic book fan in the world. I have tens of thousands of comic books. When I go see a movie, I understand you can't directly translate a comic book into a film. You can capture the essence. I mean, there's still people bother that, why isn't Tom Bombadil in the Lord of the Rings trilogy that Peter Jackson made? Well, would that character have translated good into those movies? I mean, it's a different medium. That's why it's called an adaptation. It's just something different.
I know you can try. I mean, look, Sin City, that was kind of a direct translation, and that's cool, but you're going to get tired of that pretty quick. Sin City 2. So it doesn't always, or The Shadow. No, not The Shadow, The Spirit.
The
Spirit, right? Okay, Avenge the Chicken writes, losing my patience for this damn Avengers 4 trailer. Peace, everybody, peace. It's just a trailer. It'll come when it comes. A lot of people are speculating. There's actually, I had somebody write me today that a teaser to the trailer is going to drop on Thursday, and that the full trailer will drop on Friday. Whether that's true or not, who knows? But you know what? Whether it comes this year, remember, I said on the show a while ago that I had a pretty reliable source tell me that the trailer would drop before the end of November, which made sense because we are getting relatively close to it. But even if it doesn't come for a few more weeks, it's just a trailer. Let's take a breath, and we will all freak out when the trailer comes. But it's coming. Let's just hold our breath. Ben Rayner writes, do you think on Flash or Arrow will ever say what happened to Krypton on Universe Prime? I don't know. I mean, it all depends on how quickly they run out of other things to do. And if they ever want to get into that, maybe they can. And hey, maybe this picture with Tom Welling and Michael Rosenbaum with Stephen Amell might actually mean they're bringing Smallville in. Who knows?
Which would be rad.
I'm Upset writes, over or under 15%, there's a Tyrese and Ludacris Fantastic Four, or Fast and Furious, I should say, spinoff. 15%'s a nice low number, but I will take the under on that as well. I do not think we're going to see a Ludacris and Tyrese spinoff. I'll take under on 15. Although I wouldn't mind it. I'd probably go see it, but I don't think they're going to do it.
Although I'd love to see a jet-setting movie, when Roman on his Learjet, he just travels around the world with beautiful women and fights crime or does kind of the heart-to-heart thing with Ludacris. That would be great. I'm in. But
under 15%.
Under 15%.
You're going to take the under as well. PGML writes, damn them. I'm excited for an Aquaman movie. Look, but we had to know the moment they announced that James Wan was directing. When's the last time James Wan really let us down? I can't think of it. So that should have been our first indication. Karen X writes, John, fellow Canadian here from Ottawa, used to have a cottage on the Little Rideau. There's a Big Rideau Lake and Little Rideau Lake, one of the most beautiful places in North America. He used to have a little cottage there. Canadian here from Ottawa, can't wait for the Canal Rideau and Beaver Trails to come again, or Tales to come again. Had amazing weekend with the wife. Friday, Rocky 1, 2, 3, 4. Saturday, 5 and 6, and Creed. Sunday, Bohemian Rhapsody and Creed 2. That's a weekend well spent, my friend. You could have probably skipped Rocky 5.
Give it up for his wife, dude.
Oh, yes.
What a wife you have there.
You married well.
Yes, well done.
You clearly married well. And please go enjoy the Kingston area, the Big Rideau, Little Rideau for me, because I haven't been there in years. Abel Contreras writes, Hugh Jackman to play Barnum on Broadway is my guess. I mean, that makes sense, but Hugh Jackman playing a role on Broadway, is that something you do? You hype up for days and days and days, and you have to announce on the Today Show. Is that big enough to justify that? Is
No.
him playing a role on Broadway big enough to justify this huge hype up to it?
No, you know what's going to happen. He's going to announce Wolverine's in Avengers 4 and drop the Avengers 4 trailer. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. That's not what's happening. But it would be cool.
It would be cool. It would shake the world. It would totally shake the world. John K writes, "Is Zac Efron Ted Bundy movie still happening?" Oh, it's shot. They're just trying to figure out now when they want to release it. The movie is shot. We've heard great things about it. It's shot, it's done, it's in the can. They're just now trying to figure out who's the best distribution partner and when are we going to release this thing. But yes, it is still coming. Danny Ramuni writes, "If you had the option of a Batman Beyond movie now with Keaton or in 20 years with Bale, which would you want?" I wouldn't want either, to be honest with you. But if you had to force one of those on me, I'll go Keaton. I'll take the Keaton one for sure.
100%. I love that idea. I've been saying this to you.
Oh, yes, you have.
I love the Batman Beyond movie idea. Bring it on. Michael Keaton, yes.
Razor's Edge Frisbee writes, "Big congrats to Into the Spider-Verse and Aquaman for the rave reviews. I'm especially on a Spider-Man multiverse high since I'm reading Spider-Geddon." Hey, look, I am not surprised about the response to Aquaman. Not surprised at it at all. I'm not surprised we're getting positive reviews for Spider-Verse. I am surprised, though, I will admit, how positive those Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse things, which just complicates this death window of December 14th, December 21st, even more, my friends, because, man, we could be in, because I think Mortal Engines looks great.
I do too.
Spider-Man in the Spider-Verse obviously is the reviews are that it's great. I think Bumblebee is looking damn good. And by the way, Bumblebee is doing the same showing confidence thing by having a December 8th screening for fans 2 weeks in advance. And now Aquaman, there are going to be some big decisions. You know what? You know who's patting themselves on the back right now? The producers behind Alita Battle Angel, which was also supposed to open on the 21st. Right now, they're like, good job.
John Landau and James Cameron.
Yeah, just good job moving that into and Will, they're going to benefit from that move, but it's getting even more complicated in there now. Abel Contreras writes, "Chili powder on your popcorn." Oh, no. First of all, you don't understand me. When I have wings, Ray can attest to this. I can't even get mild wings. John, you're Italian. Aren't you supposed to have like a taste buds of steel?
Yeah, but you're also Canadian.
But I'm also Canadian, and I don't drink beer. So,
what?
It's true.
What?
I don't drink beer. I do not like the taste of beer. Actually, I basically don't drink any alcohol. But anyway,
that's it. I'm out.
I can't have anything even remotely spicy. Not the slightest bit of spice, and I break down like a sobbing little baby. I don't like. I just give me butter. To me, popcorn is nothing but a butter delivery device. That's what popcorn is. I will soak and drench that. I'll be standing, if you're behind me in the butter line, like you're going to be getting frustrated because I'm just like pump. And the funny thing is I only eat a few handfuls, but it's got to have all that rich. So no, you put anything on your popcorn?
You know what? When I go to the Landmark Theater, the Pasadena Landmark Theater here, it's right next to Vroman's. I put their white cheddar powder on my popcorn, but that's it. I always have popcorn, nothing on it but salt.
All right, Adam K is writing, "With the new updates, what film will win December?" I initially, months and months ago, I initially said it was going to be Mary Poppins, and it still very well may, but I've got to lean towards Aquaman at this point. And again, I think it would have done better had it not released in December, but I think it is actually going to end up winning the month.
You know why Mary Poppins is going to win?
Why is that?
Because my mom wants to see Mary Poppins, and she doesn't care about Aquaman. And I think
And
lots
there's
of
a lot of
people's
people like
moms
that, yeah.
feel that way.
Yeah, you may
Don't
not be
count
wrong
out
about that. Adam K writes, that was Adam K. NPE 94 writes, "Mortal Engines tracking only at 15 million. Bloody hell." I mean, look, Spider-Man and the Spider-Verse is not tracking much higher than that. We talked about on the show a while ago, in this death window, who's going to be the odd man out? And I think there's going to be they're all going to take a hit. They all will. But the odd man out, the one that I said is really going to take the hit, is Mortal Engines. They have not handled their marketing nearly as well as an Aquaman has, as a Mary Poppins. Mary Poppins has some built-in advantages, obviously, but we've said for a while we think Mortal Engines. I do think it'll finish higher than 15,
Yeah.
but no big surprise that it's the odd man out here.
Well, again, no one's seen it. People
Yeah.
don't know what this. It looks to me. It looks great. As bonkers as Aquaman looks, this movie looks bonkers too. And it's based on a literary property. I think if the movie is Lord of the Rings caliber, I think people are going to go because it's new. It's something they haven't seen before.
All right, Pretty Good, who must be from the UK, writes, Cineworlds have their 10th secret screening on Tuesday. No clues, however. In the text it says, drive in and book your tickets, hoping it's Aquaman. Yes, Cineworld has done this a couple of times. They've had secret screening, buy a ticket, and you don't even know what movie it's for, come see, which is a cool idea. I wish a Regal or an AMC would do something like that here. I would get suckered into getting it. But, you know, with my luck, it ends up being Holmes and Watson, which doesn't actually look all that good.
They do say dive in.
Oh, it does say. Snap! Dive! Oh, you clever boy! All right, I hope you're right. I hope that's what it is. MP94 writes, Ghibli or Pixar? For me, it's Ghibli, but it's close. I'll be honest with you. I adore many Studio Ghibli films. Many of them. Nothing touches Pixar to me. Just the way they are able to tell really engaging, entertaining, family-friendly, while adult-skewed films is just unlike anything we've ever seen. I know it's the cool thing to say Ghibli, and I love many Ghibli films, although, you know, Grave of the Fireflies nearly wrecked me for life. I have to go Pixar.
But why choose? I mean, they're very different kinds of things. I mean,
and they're very different kinds of movies.
Miyazaki's work is just unbelievable. I mean, Howl's Moving Castle is one of my favorite animated films of all time. Princess Mononoke. There's so many great films there. They're just different.
Aviator 986 writes, good to see you on the show, Robert. Did you guys hear about Cowboy Bebop getting a series on Netflix? So excited. More excited it's going to be a TV series and not a Netflix movie, because most of the Netflix movies are terrible. You know what? There was a joke told on South Park a number of years ago, which is more true today than ever, which is whenever you call Netflix, they would have this thing. The kids had to call Netflix, and the operator answers the phone with, Netflix, you're greenlit. And that's it. Everybody gets a show on Netflix now. And you know what? There is coming a tipping point at some point. And this is a bigger topic for another time, that at some point there's going to be a little bit of an internal backlash, I think, to like the whole Netflix, you're greenlit. Like, let's just greenlight everything. They are spending cash at a audacious rate right now. There's going to come a wall that they hit at some point. But Cowboy Bebop, it looks like it's going to be one of the beneficiaries of that trend right now.
I want to see a live action Spike. I don't know who's going to play him. I don't know who's going to do the jazz soundtrack, but there's a lot of things to be excited about. I've already been tweeting about this. I can't wait. A friend of mine, a guy I know, is working on the show. He's in the writer's room. Very, very excited about this.
All right. I'm just going to fly through these last few ones, guys. We've gone way over time, but I want to get through all the questions if we can here. Devontae Brown writes, wow, Glass is tracking at 55 to 80 million. Great, but thought it would be less due to my age group not knowing Unbreakable and my crowd thinking Split ending dumb. Really? Your crowd thought the Split ending was... Well, I guess if people did... But understand that even though I'm sure there were people watching Split who had no idea about Unbreakable and had no idea what the significance was of that ending, they can find out later.
Right.
And they have. And you know what? Forget Unbreakable for a second. The trailers for Glass have been great, haven't they?
They've been so great. And just seeing Sam Jackson back with that haircut...
Oh!
Come on. I mean, Prince has not, he's left us. He's gone. He can't come back. But Sam Jackson coming back as Mr. Glass is like the greatest thing ever.
Yeah. And again, I am sure a lot of people were confused by the ending who didn't understand Unbreakable, but they can find out later and go, oh, now that I understand that. And by the way, remember there was a spike in online rentals of Unbreakable after Split came out. Hence, a lot more people finding out about it. Iggy is Horrible writes, saw Grinch, really enjoyed it more than the old and Jim's version. Narration was awkward. Someone like Patrick Stewart would have elevated more like he did with Nightmare Before Christmas. I enjoyed Grinch. I thought it was a throwaway dumb idea. I didn't even like the first trailer or two. I thought the second trailer was all right. But me and Cody Miller, actually, who... you and I are going to be doing something with here pretty soon, but we'll tell people about that later. We did a double feature. We went to go see a special IMAX presentation of Crimes of Grindelwald.
Right.
And then we got in our car, drove across town, went to go see a late screening of Grinch. And we actually both watched it going, that was good. I did not like it as much as the original, and I did not like it as much as Jim Carrey's. But it was much better than I thought it was going to. Did you have a chance to check it out?
I have not seen it yet, but nothing is better than the original Grinch. Come on. Come on.
Patrick Conway writes, screw Darth Vader, Thanos, Loki, and the Joker. Scar is the greatest and scariest movie villain. Long live the monkey's uncle. Jeremy Irons goes, what does that make you? A monkey's uncle. I love that line. He is great. The one thing I will say, though, he is one of the all-time great movie antagonists, for sure. Scariest, I don't know, because, you know, there's that intro, one of the first conversations in the movie between him and Mufasa. And Mufasa says, is that a challenge? And he says, I wouldn't dream of it. Whereas I got all the brains in the family when it comes to brute strength. Right. I sadly came out on the short end of the gene pool. Like he cannot fight Simba. He tries to fight Simba. That doesn't work out for him. No. He never even dared to try to fight Mufasa. So, but his intelligence is scary. And oh my God, the be prepared scene, that's scary too, which they took out of this version of the movie, by the way. That's not going to be there.
And let's not forget, Jeremy Irons is Hans Gruber's brother, Simon.
Oh, good Lord.
Just saying.
Let's see here. Raphael's Creative Style writes, now this is the John Campea Show I want from now on. This is what I've been hoping for since moving to the new studio. Great show today, John and Robert. Please, for the love of Khaleesi, keep this up. I can only take so much of Robert. You know, once a week is good.
Wait a minute. Does he say Khaleesi or Kalis?
Oh, Kalis.
Kalis.
I read through that really quickly. Sorry.
Just saying.
Oh, yes. Are you Kalis's clone? Remember they did that one storyline where they had Kalis's clone?
They did. That was I think a sixth season Next Generation episode with Kevin Conway as Kalis, and it's funny because he was really short compared to Michael Dorn, so they had to keep shooting him. Good call though.
Everybody's short compared to Michael
Dorn. Nice pull there. Really, that's good.
Let's see.
Thank you, by the way.
Aviator 986 writes, how about a Jackie Chan and Tom Cruise movie? I'm in.
Oh my God. Yes. Yes, do that, please.
Of course, they'll both be dead by the end. They'll both each try to upstage one another.
Well, they could bring his character back from the Super Cop movies.
Oh, there you go.
Bring Michelle Yeoh, Jackie Chan, and Tom Cruise.
By the way, the other night, Ann and Ray and I watched Crazy Rich Asians again. How great. Even in a silly formulaic rom-com, you add a Michelle Yeoh, and she like takes it. And how good is she? I know you don't like Discovery. I do like Discovery, and I think Michelle Yeoh is fabulous in Discovery. But you and I've got to do a video sometime debating Discovery.
Oh, well, you know, the new season's dropping soon.
That's true. It is dropping soon. All right. Last two questions. Morse Code Z writes, Macquarie didn't say good ideas, just scary ideas. Oh, come on. If it's Macquarie, you know he thinks they're good ideas.
Yeah, Chris Macquarie is a very smart man. He really knows his stuff, and I think he's proven that with two Mission Impossible films. I think that they're good ideas.
And final question of the day, Todd S. writes, will they ever merge the Earths with Arrow and Supergirl? I don't think they will, because having the multiple Earths gives them the ability to pretend like they're not in the same cinematic universe. They can do each, like Supergirl can do all of its own stuff in its own show, and it doesn't affect what goes on in the Arrow and Flash world whatsoever. It kind of gives them a best of both worlds scenario. So I don't think they'll merge that and take that creative tool out of their own hands.
Although I do want to point out, the Anti-Monitor or the Monitor is in this Elseworlds crossover. And as we all know, at the end of Crisis on Infinite Earths, the Infinite Earths were all compacted.
That's true.
Into one Earth.
Well, we got to talk about the Elseworlds crossover, but that's later on the Weekly Hero. So make sure you guys come back and join us for the Weekly Hero. That will do it, guys, for this installment of the John Campea Show. Thanks so much for being here, and a very special thanks. You know, he was in the neighborhood, Mr. Robert Meyer Burnett. Robert, where can people find you online?
You can find me on Twitter at BurnettRM. You can find me on Instagram at RMBurnett, or subscribe to my new YouTube channel, The Burnett Work, and watch the first episode of my show, Robservations, the show about something. The next episode will drop next week.
And, of course, you guys can follow me on Twitter, as we mentioned a little bit earlier, at John Campea. By the way, go to my Twitter account right now and vote on today's question of the day. It's right up there at the top, and we will visit the results of that tomorrow. Don't forget, a little bit later this afternoon, Robert and I have another episode coming out of The Weekly Hero. The newest edition, hot off the presses, is coming at you later today. Special thanks to everybody in the studio, to Jonathan and Ray and Mariah, and thank you to you guys for being here. That'll do it for me. My name's John Campea, ladies and gentlemen, and until next time, bye-bye.